Good afternoon, everybody. Time for a wolfofbricks.com update. Once again, I am Jim, and this is where we talk about Lego investing and reselling. So, of course, before we get into the topic today, I would humbly like to ask everybody to like and subscribe to this channel. Really helps us out. So we're going to do kind of a AMA, right, where I've accumulated quite a few questions that were in the comment sections of a few YouTube channels, and I thought that these were, somewhat beneficial to the masses that might be watching this video, so I thought I would just go ahead and answer maybe 5 or 6. We'll see how it goes. Question number 1 comes from HP0101. Do you think the new postcard sets could help or worsen the future of architecture sets ROI? I think there's reasons for both, but wondering what your opinion is. So that's interesting, right? I am a fan of the postcard sets. I think I talked about this in one of the Brick It Up episodes in the archives. You could check that out if you like. But honestly, when I first read this question, I said to myself, that really depends on the architecture theme, right? Because there have been some times where the architecture theme has been lacking, and sometimes it has been gangbusters, right? So I really think both of them complement each other. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's in direct competition with each other, though, right? As you mentioned, I think there are some benefits, and there might be a couple negatives. I can't think of anything off the top of my head when it comes to architecture sets and the postcard theme, but I like both of them. I really like the architecture. I've said in the past that boring is good, right? But these postcard sets, right? I mean, with the color they have, it really looks like that they breathe a little bit more life into the cities or the various things they're trying to do. So I like both, and I hope both of them do really well. The next question comes from Michael Smith, 5583. Jim, what are your thoughts on set number 40499? I think it has been retired. It's been gone from Lego for 3 weeks now. Arrow 404 webpage removed. So, I've been seeing this in the set number 40499. We're talking about Santa's sleigh, right? I honestly don't know what's going on with it. It would appear that this set is just no longer available. And I would think that as we're getting, closer to September, they wouldn't just now go ahead and remove this set from the website. The Holiday Train, I think, was a set that they had year-round. The only Winter Village set, and I understand this isn't a Winter Village set, but it's still a holiday set, right? The only Winter Village set that I remember them removing is Santa's Workshop, right? And that was maybe the first or second year, or both, that they removed it from the website during the summer. I think the last and final year they may have had it year round. But it's interesting. I mean, there's sometimes Lego and Lego Shop at Home is predictable in what they're doing, but when it comes to this, I'm almost tempted to say that if they don't have it online, that they might just be getting rid of it altogether. But that doesn't mean that there's not going to be a slow trickle in to all the Lego stores themselves over the next couple months. But that's something to definitely track and keep an eye out for. The next question comes from Hustle and Manaya. Hey Jim, great video. Thank you. Just have a question about pre-boxing sets. Have you ever gotten backlash from Amazon for not putting a packing slip in with it? So what I think you might be talking about was whenever I recently did Q4 prep video, and I think this question might have come from that video where I talked about pre-boxing everything in August. Well, here's the thing. I haven't sent in stuff to Amazon in years. I mean, I'm talking about like when Falling Water had just retired, and that was a long time. If we're talking Lego sets, there have been some times I've sent in some other things, maybe some books or stuff like that. But yeah, when it comes to fulfilling, everything that I sell is merchant fulfilled. There's not a single thing that is Amazon fulfilled. It's just something that I like. I know plenty of bigger volume Lego resellers that do the same thing. To be honest, I can't remember the last time there's one reseller I know that sends it in, and he lives and dies by sending it into Amazon, and that's great. If he's happy, I'm happy for him. But I that's just not a practice that I do. The next question comes from Brainbug1981. Hey Jim, got any advice on buying larger quantities? I took advantage of the 35 euro price point, but there was a limit of 3. Is getting more accounts possible, or is it the address that limits it? So here's the thing. I'm assuming that you're living in the UK, right? And I've talked to quite a few Patreon members who are overseas, and I would say the number one issue they're having isn't the sales. It seems like there's a lot of good deals. It's just getting the quantities, right? There was this one Patreon member, he talked about how the deals were so good that for every 2 architecture studios that you purchased, you got a third one free. And I was like, that is amazing. But it stopped with 3, right? So, I'm not going to, on this video, tell you what you should or shouldn't do about multiple accounts. I'll just say that I have an account, my wife has an account, and so this house has 2 accounts, right? The other thing I would recommend doing is, everything is relationship based, right? So I would start networking with maybe the general managers or the store managers of those big box places overseas, where you could get a little bit more familiar with them. And, you could building a relationship with retail professionals and other resellers is key. You just need to make sure that you're getting back from that manager or specifically that reseller the same information that you're giving them. You want it to be an even exchange. And if it isn't an even exchange, you may want to consider just cutting ties with them, like I've done to quite a few. And the final question comes from Marco Patage. I hope I said that right. I'm almost certain I didn't, so I apologize. The question is, hi Jim, what is your experience with a recession? Great question. I love this question. Does it affect your Lego investments? Do you sell less during a recession? Or do you not notice anything like with art? For art, it does not matter whether there is a recession. It will continue to rise. So this is a very good question, a very interesting question, right? So people should not have a short-term memory here, right? There was quite the recession during COVID, right? There was one in the US. There was one in pretty much every country that suffered from COVID. And I flourished as an Amazon reseller. And the last recession before that was '08. I wasn't doing the Lego reselling at the time. That was during the housing crisis. But the interesting thing is, and I've shared this story with a few people, that whenever I was in the Army Reserves, right, once a month we would meet at a drill hall, and we would see people pull up in their vehicles, and there were these 2 soldiers, right? They pulled up in Cadillacs, and I was like, man, in new Cadillacs, I was like, man, these cars are great. What do you do? And they said that they sell cable TV to people. And I was like, is the cable TV business that good? And they're like, yeah, man, everybody's unemployed. They're just cashing in their check, and they're buying cable and movies and whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. And the housing crisis was bad. It was really bad here in the United States. And sure enough, the economy started to rebound, and then they started to cut unemployment benefits. And then, I would go back to my Army Reserve unit, and they would be upset. They would be pounding salt, kicking the ground, because that well of free money, if you want to call it, started to dry up, and then they had to make other life decisions. They should have just saved the money instead of going in and buying very nice, expensive cars. So the way I look at it is, I'm very optimistic. If there's a recession, I don't think it will affect me personally or business-wise at all. And that's the thing, though. You always have to look for an opportunity. It will, unfortunately, affect other people negatively. And if you have a lot of money on the side, you might be able to take advantage of that and find some bargain opportunities that you wouldn't have if there wasn't a recession. So I hope I was able to answer that. All right, that concludes my brief AMA. Hope you enjoyed the video, my friends. As always, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Once again, I'm Jim with wolfofbricks.com. Always go out there and get it.